Good afternoon and welcome to Tea Time with Tom and Joel. My name's Tom McRae. I'm the Golf Operations Manager here at Laguna Woods.
I'm Joel Walker, your head golf professional here at Laguna Woods Village.
And I'm Sean Sincata, the golf course superintendent here at Laguna Woods Village.
Today we're going to cover a variety of different topics. A lot of it has to do with the kind of agronomy that we use here at the golf course, the kind of grasses that are populated with it, and some of the strategies, not only how Sean keeps it in such fine shape, but also when you're playing the golf course on how to go about using it properly.
Right. Sean, I love this stuff. I know most of our residents around here don't know maybe a whole lot about it. What can you tell us about kikuyu grass?
Oh boy, kikuyu grass. It's an interesting turf. It's a warm season turf. It's very coarse bladed. It started here in California. I think they brought it here in about 1920, early 20s. It's native to South and Southeastern Africa. They brought it here as a erosion control method to try to keep a lot of the slopes in California from eroding when we got our rains. And it just kind of spread by seed and started hitting golf courses, and it became known to the state of California as a noxious weed a few years after that. So what started as a good idea for erosion control turned into fairways and tees at many, many golf courses here in Southern California.
Well, I know Torrey Pines, Newport Beach Country Club, Riviera. We play a lot of famous tournaments up here in our beautiful Laguna Woods Village. Highly utilizing this turf that a lot of people like to call kikuyu grass, because it is a little bit difficult if you're not used to it. And it can grow pretty high too, can it?
Yeah, it can. A lot of our golfers call it Velcro from the way the ball reacts after it hits it. It really seems to bite the ball and the ball sticks. But yeah, I've seen photographs. Matter of fact, I shared them with Joel a couple months ago. A picture in Hawaii of a Volkswagen bug, and in one summer, kikuyu grass growing around that bug covered the entire car in about a 4-month growing season. So it grows very rapidly. Here in Southern California, it can grow about 1 inch a day. So it's a tough grass to maintain. We have a couple of methods to try to keep it in good shape and try to keep it as a golf course turf rather than a weed. So
that was I'm sorry, Tim. That was kind of my next question. What are the special nuances that you have to put in place daily out here to keep this grass as fresh and beautiful as it is?
Yeah, we mow these fairways. It's primarily the fairways and the roughs. So the fairways are almost 100% kikuyu grass now. This golf course started as a common Bermuda golf course. Of course, kikuyu grass on neighboring areas, neighboring golf courses, seed blew in, so some kikuyu grass got into the course. The membership back in the early 90s, mid 90s wanted a green golf course all year. Of course, the Bermuda grass, being warm season grass, would not stay green all year, so they asked what we could do to give them green grass. Our choices were pretty much overseeding the golf course every year, which is very labor intensive and very expensive, or we came up with the other option of adding kikuyu grass seed, which had just recently been available, and interseeded into our fairways. That's the method they chose. We did that for about 5 years, and what we got was about 90 to 100% kikuyu conversion in the fairways. Very inexpensive way to get a good grass, a good coverage of nice green turf all year. The only time it's not green is if we have a frost. The frost, anything about 34 degrees and below, will turn it kind of a yellow. It'll go mostly dormant, but as soon as the sun comes out, 65, 70 degrees, it warms up and the grass starts to green up right away.
What are the wonderful turf? What are the real drawbacks about the kikuyu? You know, when you go through it, like there are most of the golf courses in the area will probably have Bermuda fairways. Would you say that's correct?
Yes.
You know, a lot of the clubs, a lot of the public courses that are around use Bermuda.
Yes, they do.
And you mentioned overseeding. In my past job, we would overseed before, and that was quite the arduous process. to where, you know, to making that change would really create more problems than it's actually worth.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yes, overseeding, it takes a lot of time. It takes everybody every maintenance person in the barn to take care of the job. It takes weeks to accomplish. Then you've got to heavily water that overseeded ryegrass is what you use. So the golf course really isn't usable for 4 to 6 weeks. So people are a little bit upset about that. And then you've got a couple of extra expenses of mowing every day, of fertilizing when you're usually in the wintertime not having to worry about that, whether you keep your Bermuda not overseeded or with the kikuyu grass. So overseeding is tough. Overseeding is not happy. I don't think it's a really great option. A lot of courses now that are Bermuda grass are not overseeding because of one, of the expense, two, the expense of the extra water that's needed, and three, they're finding out that the Bermuda grass underneath that ryegrass is the warm season grass has to compete too much in the spring with that ryegrass. As the ryegrass is starting to die out into the summer, it's really struggling against. It's competition between the warm season Bermuda grass and the cool season ryegrass. So a lot of courses now are just not going through that expense and thinking about maybe going to kikuyu.
Yeah, at Strawberry Farms, that's actually what we decided to do. Is we actually decided to just not overseed. It's not a great look in the wintertime, but we are in Southern California after all. So
right.
It's usually not too big. And what we're going to get into a little bit later today when we go out on the golf course is kikuyu is, you know, like a lot of different golf courses have a characteristic. They have a certain way that you have to play them because of the agronomy, the design, the way that the golf course sets up, the way that the weather impacts it, and so forth. And what we have is kikuyu grass. You mentioned the Velcro before. That's going to be our next topic, is going to be go around and kind of show what happens with it and maybe some strategies to get better.
You know, I was out there this morning, and the greens, Sean, are fabulous.
Oh, good.
Very good. And those are Poana
Yes,
greens.
they are.
With kikuyu being such an invasive species, how are you keeping your Poana?
We keep it out of the greens primarily by edging the greens 4 or 5 times a year. The guys actually get out there with an edger or a linoleum knife and actually cut the little runners of kikuyu that are going into the green and picking it out by hand, and then adding a little bit of sand, and pretty soon the POA is actually very invasive on its own. It's not really invasive, it's just aggressive. So it will fill in those bare spots rather quickly. In a couple of weeks, you can't tell the kikuyu was cut out. We also have, once in a while, we'll have a little bit of seedling kikuyu come up in the middle of the green, and we'll just hand pick that out. So that's the greens. It's tough keeping the greens pure POA. Most people don't want POA. Most people want bentgrass greens, but we're not talking greens. We're talking.
As everyone will attest to around here, you and your staff do such a great job.
Oh, thank you.
It's a very special place, and the course is immaculate condition. And, you know, we don't get any rounds out here, only about 110,000 a year. So I've got to give it up for Sean when you see him around the village and out here at the golf course. You know, give it up to him and his staff doing such a great job.
And we talked about the kikuyu grass, but if you were to say the one big thing that you could encourage the people listening, the golfers that come out to play, what is the one thing you could encourage them to maybe do better to help take care of the golf course?
Boy, I would love to see everybody pair up in a golf cart and use the 90-degree rule. The wear and tear on this golf course is phenomenal. Like Joel said, we do about 110 to 120,000 rounds of golf a year. Everyone that's here has their own golf cart. Thank goodness we have at least a policy of 3 carts per group. So it's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be a 5-some, had 5 carts out there. And the wear and tear is phenomenal on the golf course. The kikuyu grass does not like to be beaten down and worn down. We have to move. We use traffic control methods all the time with ropes and stakes to keep people on and off certain areas. And that's probably the number one thing over ball mark. Well, ball marks are huge, but for the kikuyu grass, it's definitely that wear. It's not good for it.
We covered that on our last show.
Oh, did you? I didn't see your last show, so.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
You're the only one out of like 800,000 who
Right.
hasn't seen it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of likes, I think, on YouTube. Where are you?
Yeah.
Well,
Great.
Sean, thank you very much.
No, you're
I know
more
you got to
welcome.
get back
Heck
out
yeah,
there
thank you.
and get the golf course
man,
going.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
So after this, we are going to head out on the golf course and kind of talk about the kikuyu grass, not just how it grows, but how do you play out of it.
This is as good as there is. He got it. Here comes Harper. Got him. What a play. Incredible. And they got him. That kid is unbelievable. Wow. Game over.
Every Everything you love about baseball is on FS1.
I'm a strong believer that there's something for everyone out there. But some people never stop searching. I've looked long and hard through these parts, and I thank my lucky stars I stumbled across a special place, a unique place, where you never know what you'll find. The Trading Post, only on Channel 6.
Okay, well now we know all about kikuyu grass. Thanks, Sean, for that little expose on what we use out here and why we use it. But now you're on the golf course playing it. And when you go out and play different golf courses, you run into different things. And kikuyu has a characteristic about it that we call
Skrikuya.
and Velcro. You hear all those kinds of words. Because what happens is at a lot of golf courses, you can get away with shots. You can hit a shot that might not be as solid as you'd like to hit it, might come up a little bit short, and it'll just generally tend to bounce up onto the green. Not here.
Not here. Here, balls that you would hit normally maybe into the apron in other areas of the country, going right up through the apron onto the green and maybe rolling up next to the hole, but not here. And at Laguna Woods Village, course 1 and 2, playing around 6,000 yards, you would think from the scorecard, wow, we're going to take over today. Well, not so fast. Rolling terrain, a lot of beautiful mature trees, small greens, and the Velcro effect of the kikuyu really puts a little bite into this golf course. If you especially haven't played it for the first time, we're gonna hit some shots and you'll see how the ball does stand up really nice in kikuyu. You can go down after it in this grass, and you can also be a really good sweeper of the ball and have some success. It's just not being a little freaked out when you first get on this stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of other things happen with the golf course. Like you say, the course 1 and 2 only plays at 6,000 yards, but the course actually plays a lot longer than that, because one of the things, not only does kikuyu stop the ball from bouncing into a green, it also turns that 300-yard drive into a 260-yard drive. You know, the ball does not roll in this stuff. It does sit up, but it does tend to grab the ball and not release. So you've got what I've seen in the rounds that I've played with the residents here is I've seen a great number of people, even with great experience, they come up short all the time. Even the experienced players.
Right, they come up short, and then there's the chipping and the approach shot aspect too. And if you're not used to playing on this stuff or have some sort of idea of how you're going to execute these shots, you can go from, wow, I usually shoot pretty low numbers to really high numbers. Like one of our new add-ons to the staff came out here and found out really quick that kikuyu grass, if you're not used to it, will come up and bite you.
So what we want to kind of demonstrate is we're going to demonstrate a strategy, and hopefully this helps everybody kind of get some better scores, is to try to think about your yardage plus a little bit. You don't want to be just off just a hair. You want to allow yourself an opportunity. You know, when looking at, this is the first green on course number 1, you see there's a little upslope in front of the green. You want to think about, I want to get that ball all the way to where the pin is or past it. Because everything on this golf course, the greens actually slope pretty severely, even though they don't look that much, but very severely from back to front. So a shot coming in there is going to be able to stay onto the green. A shot that comes up short is going to stay short.
You got to pay attention to your yardages. You can really flush a shot, oh that's great, and it's right into the apron and you're chipping. Or maybe you got a long putt with your putter through the kikuyu grass, which is another challenge. All right, well we are about 135 yards out here on course 1, hole 1. Beautiful place to be on a Thursday afternoon, and Tom's going to go ahead and just show us how to execute one of these shots. Take it away.
Well, one of the things you want to think about whenever you're standing here, you're going to try to hit a shot into a green with these kikuyu fairways, is you want to try to get your whole idea of how far do I want to hit it. At a lot of courses you play, I've got 135 yards to the middle of the green. I probably only needed about 130 for us to get a bounce back to where the pin is. Not at Laguna Woods. I've got to think about 140 yards. I'm actually going to try to put it all the way to where the pin is. The greens actually are very severe from back to front, so the ball will stay there. But anything short of the green, that's what I don't want to do. I want to give myself an opportunity. So if I come up, like I'll try to hit this a little bit lower, and you'll kind of get a sense of when it hits into the front of the green, what happens. That's going to hit at about 130, and it's going to actually go backwards.
It went nowhere.
So what my strategy is going to be, knowing that, is my strategy is going to say, uh-oh, all I have out here is one of these fine Bridgestone balls now. Let's see if it goes a little further. So now I'm going to try to take it a little bit more of an aggressive approach, and try to get it all the way back to the pin. So now
Pull it.
I've got to try to hit
Good,
it.
Tom. There's a little wind up there.
You saw that one carried about 5 yards further, but it backed up about 2 yards. So that's the kind of thing that you want to avoid here. So I tried to play a little 8-iron because it was into the wind a little bit. If I were playing here in the skins again, I'd have a 7-iron in my hand, but I tried to get at this. Joel, would you agree?
I totally agree. And, you know, there's the wind factor, and that totally what's held that ball up, for sure.
Good. So why don't we go up to the green and we'll kind of take a look at some different shots.
All right, Tom, that was a good shot. Good action. I think the wind actually blew this ball over here. I thought that was going to be right next to the
I think
hole.
it was actually old age, but that's
Old
old
age.
story.
Anyway, we do have a nice wide berth of kikuya, mown nice and tight as the fringe here. And Tom will explain to us a couple of different options he has to get it through, over, and up to the pin anyway, because it's still a tough shot and still doesn't have a lot of green to work with.
But one of the things that you really struggle with here at Laguna Woods when you're playing is what we call short-sighting yourself. Because of this, what we've talked about, Velcro that is involved between me and where the green starts, it's going to be very tricky. You know, a lot of golf courses you play that have Bermuda aprons or Bermuda roughs, I could just bounce this ball into the fringe and it would hop up onto the green, and it wouldn't really be that much of a challenge. But now I've got several options, and whichever one you're most comfortable with, you can try to play something without a lot of loft to it. Like I've got my pitching wedge in my hand to try to play it low to where it will, at this trajectory, it will skip through it. It's not a very consistent shot, but you shouldn't have hit it here. Or you could try to get it up in the air and try to land it somewhere where it's on the green. You know, personally, I think, you know, a shot like this might have greater options, because if I get the ball up in the air and I land the ball on the green from that distance, it's probably going to go about 6 or 7 feet past the hole. So when I do that, what I want to make sure that I do is, like, now I'm going to pick a target on the side of the hill and I'm going to try to send it in low, and hopefully I get a decent bounce and it can actually skip through it and get it up next to the hole. So that's one option.
Nice shot.
Of course, it was kind of a lucky bounce. The other option would be to try to take something like the highest lofted wedge in your bag, like a 50, I have a 58 degree. A lot of people carry 60, but with a 58, now it's a much riskier shot because I've got to hit it a lot harder. I'm going to try to get it up in the air, have it land on the green, and hopefully not roll too far. But quite often what happens, if it comes up short, how far did that roll? Didn't roll far at all. The first bounce is in the kikuya, took all the action off of it, it went nowhere. So what I have to try to do is I have to try to get it up in the air and carry it all the way to what we call clearly on the green. And if I can do that, then the ball will release. That's another thing that happens, just to describe the mistake that I just made. I let the face of the club get a little bit square. When the face of the club gets square in kikuya, that's what happens.
It sticks.
That is the chunkosaurus.
Would we call that kind of skrikuya?
You can call that screw. You can also call that a lack of talent, but that's a whole other story. So what I want to try to do is I want to try to create that kind of a situation.
Oh, go in, look at that. Oh, he made it.
Where if I create bounce, which is essentially, if we talk about bounce in a sandwich, if I do this, then I've actually created that situation where the club will actually slide through the kikuya. Mm-hmm. Joel, you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, the one thing I'd like to add for sure is with all these shots around the green, like Tom just described, your club can get stuck in this spongy kikuya grass. So it's a good fundamental technique is keep your weight forward and make sure you're keeping your chest moving. Keep your chest moving, keep the momentum of the club traveling through the grass. Keep your eyes steady and hit it up there. So, might not make that, but it's a pretty surefire way to make sure we don't get that stuck, the club stuck in this soft, spongy, beautiful kikuya grass. Keep your chest moving, keep your lower body quiet, maintain the momentum of the shot.
I mentioned on it a little bit, when we talked about bounce and how, the difference between, creating what we call a dig sole, which would be taking the leading edge of the club and putting it lower than the back. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you're going to see a lot I don't know when this show will air, but the US Open is going on right now and those fairways are very tight. You're going to see a lot of this. But in our situation, if we do this,
we want some bounce. We want that club to be able to glide through the grass so we're not digging. The less bounce you have on your wedges, the more you're going to dig into the ground. More bounce creates an effect where the club is essentially gliding through and being able to slide through the grass as opposed to digging in the grass. Recently, I just had a 60-degree sand wedge sent to me from this wonderful company. It had 6 degrees of bounce on it. Not really even using it around the greens or the sand traps. I'm just digging it right in the ground. So bounce is really important around here. You should check that for sure.
So, I mean, when you set up for a shot like that, just to take that a step further, so what I'm going to do to create bounce is I'm going to try to actually take the toe of the club and move it behind the heel of the club when I set up for a shot out of this kikuyu grass. So when I do that, I create that situation. So now you can see what's going to happen. It's going to tend to slide along the ground. So what I'm going to set up is I'm going to take the club, my feet are going to be a little narrower, and I'm going to take the toe of the club almost like a bunker shot and take the toe of the club and open it. So when I do that, you can see as I swing it, it doesn't dig in. So now if I was to take that and take it square, that's exactly what happened. So what I want to do is I want to just take the toe of the club and open it. So now when I swing through it, the ball will come up nice and high and it won't dig into the grass.
You maintain momentum. You kept your chest moving.
I kept my chest moving. Thank you, Joel.
Thanks, everybody. You know, it's getting to be summertime. It's gonna be kind of hot out here. You got to focus on the wedges to use around here and how you're playing off the kikuyu grass. I got to thank Sean Sankata coming out earlier and giving us a heads up on what he's doing every day to keep this course in great condition, and our lovely kikuyu grass.
Yeah, I think we learned a little bit today, and hopefully that was useful. Ideally, what you'd want to do if you get out here and you try some of those techniques and you're struggling with them, well, just come on up and see one of our golf professionals in the shop. And we'd be more than happy to get you over to one of the chipping areas that is equipped the same way the golf course is. You kind of understand, you know, the reason that we do certain things. Joel's got some programs that he runs on Tuesdays, Mondays, and Thursdays. I've got a new program that I've started to run, you know. So just come by and we'll talk through that and we'll get you all set up. Because, you know, it's nice to have the information, but we've got to put it in action, and putting it in action on the golf course so you trust it.
That's it. Trust is a key word in this game. Trust what you're doing. Trust us. Giants win today?
They just managed to win an extra inning.
Go Giants.
Go Giants.